Hey everyone, it's Mike Newton back in the swing studio here at Barrow Golf Club. Today we're just going to talk a little bit about driver loft and what maybe is the correct loft for you as an individual, or maybe just a little comparison here between me hitting a couple of different lofted drives and see how that changes launch angle, spin, possibly distance as well. But also maybe look a little bit more in depth in terms of what dynamic loft we actually deliver at impact, which is the important bit here. Obviously static loft, which is generally what gets stamped on the bottom of the golf club, so 10.5 head here, statically measured, boom, 10.5, that's what it is. But what you actually deliver at impact is going to be very different. And I think that's one thing that I find when teaching a lot of pupils, when I show them their dynamic loft, they're like, oh wow, that must be too high, because generally it's around the sort of 18, 20 mark possibly. So sometimes I think, well, it should be coming out at 10.5 because that's what it says on my golf club. But if you're going to imagine a dynamic motion, you're delivering the club differently, aren't you, than you are at setup. So obviously the shaft's playing a part of this as the club kicks in. You've got the ball position more forward, so hopefully we're hitting it maybe slightly more on the upward blow, but some guys might be delivering it more on a downward blow. So there's a lot of different influences here, which is going to change this dynamic loft, which then might change your decision as what to you would purchase in terms of a lofted driver. Okay, so I think still a bit of stigma behind loft and driver, and not many guys are wanting to go up in loft, but I think definitely we're seeing with the newer technology nowadays, these lower spinning drivers, more and more golfers going to more and more loft. Okay, so as there's a bit of a saying there, loft is your friend, really. So it's trying to find that right area for you as an individual. So I'm going to look at my numbers today, and do remember that this is my numbers. This isn't going to be say, right, you've got to go out and buy whatever I say. You're going to say what I'm going to. Sorry, I'm going to buy what I'm going to tell you here. But this is my personal numbers. But we're maybe just going to see what the difference is between a 9.5 head and a 10.5 head. Okay, so realistically, there's 1 degree of difference of loft here, which isn't a lot, but it'd be interesting to see if that does change numbers on the GC2. So I've got HMT stickers fired up. I'm going to use the Strixon Z565 drivers. So identical heads. Obviously, one's a 9.5, one's a 10.5, and I've got the Miyazaki Corey stiff flex shaft in there. So I'm going to use the same shaft for both drivers here. So we've got exactly the same shaft in both hits here. So we're going to start with the 9.5 first. We'll hit a batch of shots with this, and then we'll probably hit quite a few off camera here just to maybe get a bit of an average going and quicken the video up a little bit. And then we'll move on to the 10.5 and we'll have a look and delve in a little bit deep on numbers. Okay, that's a batch of shots hit with the 9.5 head there. So what we'll do, instead of waiting to the end to look at the numbers, we'll look at those numbers now, then we'll flick across into the 10.5 and hit some more, then do a little comparison. Okay, so there's the shot pattern there of those 4 shots. So you can see I just had that leaky one that I lost to the right there. And as you appreciate, any shot that you generally lose to the right will always have that slightly higher peak in ball flight than maybe your straighter shots. So that's obviously more me in the actual club. Let's have a look at some numbers here. So also got the 9.5 head here. So the key one we're looking at here is the launch angle. Okay, so it was launching at 10.7 on average. You'll see there I've got a little bit of a drop off there, 8.8 degree. Okay, so maybe thinking, well, why is that such a different number to the rest? Let's have a look at this strike on that one. If we just go into the HMT numbers. There you go. Okay, so you can see that was a lower in the face strike. So that basically always going to help you to lower your launch. Okay, and it generally pops your spin up a little bit more. So attack angle was a little bit more level there. Struck it a little bit off the bottom, and that produced a little bit less dynamic loft, so 13.5 on that particular shot there. So what that also does, it just makes it spin up a little bit more, so 2.9, and obviously then it'll just drop off a little bit on distance there. Okay, just flicking right away across here, we're going to look at loft. So this is your dynamic loft that I presented at impact. Okay, so you can see there's fairly consistent. There's that one I hit more off the bottom. That was the 8.8 launch. So obviously that was a little bit less dynamic loft. but averaging there at 14.8. So you can probably appreciate here, strike is going to change these numbers a little bit more than anything. That was the last one I hit there. You see I hit that very sort of central, which is great. 1.3 on the up, and I produced 14 degrees of dynamic loft on that particular one. Okay, and that one got the ball going out at 277, running out at 303. Okay, so what we'll do now, we'll we'll put the 10.5 head in the same shaft, and then we'll hit 4 shots with that, and then we'll come back and have a look at some numbers. Okay, there's 4 shots hit with a 10.5 head. Okay, definitely filled me a little bit more confidence seeing more face. I'm not sure how that would influence me out on the gaming situation, out on the golf course with a strong wind into me, looking at a lot of loft. I'm not sure whether that would then really start for me to change my deliverance to try and manipulate that ball a little bit lower. I don't know. That may be a bit of testing outside. But let's have a quick look at these numbers and we'll see if there's any differences. Okay, so there's a batch of shots hit with the 10.5. There's the ball flights there. So the 10.5 degree is the red ball flight. The white's a 9.5. So you see here, obviously, apart from that white one that was a little bit of a weaker one, which obviously always flies a little bit higher. So the 10.5 is just peaking out a little bit higher there. We'll just have a little look at it from a slightly different view. There's a side-on view. So again, the red's just peaking out a little bit higher with the extra loft there. Okay, so let's delve in a little bit deeper. Let's get some numbers up. Okay, so we can see launch here. So average 10.7 with the 9.5 up to 11.4 with the 10.5. Now again, in there, there's a low number. Okay, so it's 11, 11, 12, then a 9. Okay, so if we delve into that, yeah, there we go again, another low strike there. So missing that ball below the centre of gravity head will always drop your launch and add a little bit of loft there. So you can see you hit 2.2 up on it, which is pretty good. Delivered 16 dynamic loft, probably because I was hitting a little bit more up on it. But the fact that I had a little bit lower in the face has just dropped that initial launch angle down to 9.8. Okay, and obviously spin goes up. So spin on average there, you can see is up by 280-ish roughly RPMs. Peak height is up 3 yards, so peaking out a little bit higher, and obviously that is creating the descent angle, a little bit extra spin, a little bit more peaking height, creates a slightly steeper angle of attack as it comes into land, and just dropping off a little bit of yardage there. So we're 2.663 there against 2.72. Okay, so just moving across to the dynamic loft, which we looked at. So 14.8 with a 9.5 that I produced. There was that low strike one. The 10.5 was pretty consistent there and averaging at 16.4. So actually delivering 2 degrees more dynamic loft, yet I only launched it probably 3/4 of a degree higher. Okay, quite interesting there. So producing a little bit more dynamic loft there, which is probably going to give you a little bit more help on your miss hit. So like that one I hit there was quite off the bottom. I'm still producing 16 dynamic loft, but it's coming out at 9.8, but it's getting up and out there, not too bad. Obviously it's going to drop off on distance, but if you imagine hitting it low in the face with a less lofted golf club, I imagine the results might be just a little bit more severe. Okay, so there's the results of hitting the 9.5 against the 10.5 degree drivers. As you can probably see there, I mean, I've took 4 shots of each. It's only 4 hits. It's not a great deal. You might have to test this a little bit more. And my strikes are fairly collective. I mean, it was quite good that I actually had 2 low strikes with each head here, which is quite good to sort of compare on those miss hits there. If you're a sort of golfer that may just spread strike pattern a little bit more, then you can probably see with those numbers, you know, you could have a bit of loft there, but you can manipulate that, and that strike will really override that static loft that you've got in your hands. Okay, dynamically it has produced a little bit more lofted impact for myself. As I say, the spin's gone up because obviously the more loft you produce, the more backspin you're going to generate. So my backspin has increased a little bit there. So that's maybe not a great thing for myself because it's launching higher and then spinning up and just stalling a little bit higher there. So that's probably where I'm just dropping off a little bit of distance there. So I think for myself, a 9.5 head is far better for myself. Having said that, looking at the 10.5 did fill me with a bit of confidence. So again, it's definitely an individual preference here, along with getting fit on a launch monitor with a good fitter. Maybe just test these and have a look at your miss hits. You know, how does that drop off? Because sometimes miss hits can be a real drop off, and sometimes I find that in these very low spinning drivers, especially if the strike patterns hit too high, because above the centre of gravity, it's done the opposite of what we're doing here with hit it low. Above the centre of gravity strikes always drag spin off. Okay, so if you're a golfer that's hitting up on it, you know, with some good sort of deliverance numbers, but hitting it high in the face, you might drag too much spin off in it, and the ball's sort of nose diving a little bit. So you've always got to look at your miss hits and how big a drop offs are those miss hits. Okay, and that might just influence whether you go 10.5, 9.5, or as I say, this might be 11.5, 12.5, even 13. There's a few tour guys out there playing 11-degree drivers. Okay, and they've got a lot of speed, but they maybe hit more down on it. Everybody's a little bit different, so it comes back to the same old story that you've got to go and get fit and get you testing it with different heads, different shafts, and see how the strike goes. I think if you can collect your strike, it's very easy then to fit into a perfect loft to give you the optimum numbers then. Okay guys, a little bit of a different video there. Maybe it's sometimes a question I get asked quite a bit. I do get a lot of guys, maybe not so much nowadays, but going back sort of 15 years, everybody walks in with an 8.5 degree driver. Those are a bit rarer now. Definitely people going more and more loft. Ball tech's changed, club head tech has changed quite a bit. But maybe worth going and testing yours, you know, because sometimes what you visually see outdoors could be quite a weak ball flight because you don't know how that ball's spinning. Okay, so again, you need to go and get fit and get on the launch monitor. Okay guys, thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Like the video, comment below if you've got any questions on that topic. Please share it around with your friends, and hopefully we'll see you all very soon.